This is Theo Wanne. Our customers asked us for the ultimate vintage Meyer mouthpiece. So here it is, introducing the NYBROS by Theo Wanne. As many of you know, I've been working on vintage mouthpieces for almost 3 decades now. Meyer is one of those iconic companies of which the great saxophone players of history have played on. This includes Cannonball Adderley, Phil Woods, Richie Cole, Sonny Stitt, Greg Abate, among many, many others. I have personally refaced and studied hundreds and hundreds of Meyer mouthpieces. In fact, I used to make custom Meyers for many of my customers. During this time, I gained a deep understanding of not only the history, but the history of the design of the Meyer Alto Mouthpiece. You can see some of this knowledge on my website, theowanne.com, under the resource sections, Mouthpiece Museum, Meyer. There I have pictures showing the changes throughout history of the Meyer mouthpiece. The very first Meyer mouthpieces were made in the 1930s, and they were basically just rebranded mouthpieces by the Woodwind Company. There really wasn't anything particularly special about those mouthpieces, so they're not generally considered a true Meyer mouthpiece. The first mouthpiece that Meyer made its own mold for was the TrueFlex. You can tell a TrueFlex Meyer because they all have a cutout on the table right here. The concept behind this was to allow the reed to vibrate better. However, as you know, a reed is made from cane usually, and it would just mold into this shape, and the concept didn't really work. So in the future renditions of the Meyer mouthpieces, they left that feature off. Inside this cutout though, it does say Meyer TrueFlex Facing. A very famous version of that mouthpiece was played by Ike Quebec. You can see this on many of the pictures if you search on the internet. It's very easy to tell this mouthpiece because of the unique slide-on ligature and cutouts on the side. All of these TrueFlex facing mouthpieces though had such a dark sound that they were not played by very many musicians. It was not until the 1950s that Meyer came out with its most famous mouthpiece, and the mouthpiece that made them become an iconic company. And that was the Meyer Brothers. You can see Meyer Brothers right on the back. The first version of this mouthpiece had the chamber size written on the back of the shank and New York on the inside of the shank. The later version of this had New York written on the top of the shank and the chamber size on the inside. The molds for these two mouthpieces are very similar, so generally they're considered equal. The finish work on these is both impeccable. In fact, the Meyer mouthpieces of this era are usually considered the best finished mouthpieces of any alto mouthpiece in history. The baffles and tip rails is just incredibly beautiful. Cannonball Adderley did indeed play a New York Meyer Brothers alto mouthpiece. Many people think he did not because you can see a metal band in many pictures of him playing. However, his mouthpiece had a crack on the shank, so a repairman put a metal band on it. For this reason, you can see that we've incorporated the metal band already on our NYBROS mouthpiece. And yes, you guessed it, NYBROS stands for New York Brothers. In the 1960s, Meyer again changed the mold for their alto mouthpieces. The body was slightly narrower. It said New York, USA on the shank, again on top with the chamber size on the inside. And the inside, though, had an even slightly smaller chamber, more rounded inner sidewall, and a higher baffle. Now, all of these mouthpieces, the Meyer Brothers and the early New York USA, all had very unique chamber design. The chambers were actually not medium chambers as they would say. Although they made a small, medium, and large chamber, almost everyone played the medium version. The definition of a medium chamber is when the chamber is the same size as the bore. The bore being this section that fits on the neck of your saxophone. The Meyers actually had a bit of a squeeze, or small chamber, and then they opened up to a very slight, large chamber where the chamber was bigger than the bore. So this chamber design works very well on alto mouthpieces, and is one of the reasons why these era of Meyers sound so good. The later version of the New York USA, again, they still say New York USA on the shank, was very different though. For the mid-1970s, they changed the molds again at the Elkhart factory, and they used pretty much the same design that's being used up until current times today. So when we speak of the vintage Meyer design, we're generally talking about the early New York USA and the Meyer Brothers. The NYBROS by Theo Wanne is meant to bring out the best of all of these vintage Meyer mouthpieces. It has the full-bodied, rich sound that the Meyer Brothers is known for, and the pop and extra edge and expression that the early New York USA is known for. Again, having studied these mouthpieces for so long and refaced and worked on them for so many people, I was able to pull out the best features. May our products help you access and express your deepest inspiration and creativity. And in turn, may that creativity and inspiration reach the rest of the world. Thank you.